Welcome to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. On this podcast, Laura
and Shelby, both board-certified nurse coaches, show you how to make as much money as you want in private practice as a nurse coach.
All right, welcome to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. It is Laura here today, solo. I have a slight cold, but the Dayquil has helped. I don't take medicine very often, but I do have to say I enjoy a little bit of Dayquil on day 2 of a strange flu cold that is making its way through my house. Today's episode is called Execute. Dreams don't work unless you do. And this is going to be my hot take on kind of a masculine topic, which is that all the intentions in the world, all the dreams, the visions, your skill, your talent, everything, none of it matters unless you take action. And a decision is really marked with action. So when people decide to do something, the only time that I would count that as an actual decision is the moment that they take an action towards it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this whole episode to kind of like a case study. So we've had 400 nurses go through our preceptorship course, and that's our business coaching course. That is where all the content is. That's where all the learning is located for all of our clients. So yes, we do coaching, we do consulting, we do all things, but we have this 95 module course that we've been adding to for years that has all of the teaching parts. I think that hiring a business mentor that teaches you on coaching calls is a big waste of time, because it could really be taught in a course. And then coaching calls can be used for implementation, for their experience with the content. Did they take action? Didn't they take action? So I'm going to kind of talk about how many people execute with our course. And I was looking at it, and we audit it, and we take a look at our mentees specifically and see how much they've done. And it's very rare that I see somebody who has 100% done in the course. They skip around, it's just like half done. They get busy and forget to come back to it. So I'd say like 10 to 15% of our clients execute the course fully, meaning they get all the way through. And I think this is just normal across all different disciplines and different industries. I think the more excited we are about something, the more likely we are to fully execute in learning about it. So I'm going to break it down, talk about execution, but also like give tangible examples of what it would look like to 100% execute as a student of the preceptorship course. Okay. So the preceptorship course has a long history. We originally sold it for $5,000, and then we had weekly calls, large group calls where preceptors could come and get support. We realized very quickly that that was not the best format for business coaching. And even though the offer, we sold $250,000 of that offer, we sold it to so many people, we pulled it, because we just didn't believe that people were getting the results that they could in that format. There was too much space for people to hide. We then started only selling our mentorship course, our year-long program, and now we have Make the Leap and mentorship. And we also sell the course for $1,000 on its own. All right. So I'm going to start off this episode with some famous quotes just to give you the feels. A real decision is measured by the fact that you've taken a new action. If there's no action, you haven't truly decided. Now, where this shows up a lot is when clients say, yes, I want to work with you, but we say, awesome, as soon as I get your commitment check or your commitment payment, then we'll move forward, because signing a contract is not a commitment. In coaching, it is when somebody pays you and it clears. That's the commitment. That's the actual action that means they've truly decided. And for those more seasoned coaches, you know that a lot can happen between a yes and a payment. And so we don't really count a decision to work with us as real until someone pays. That was from Tony Robbins, by the way. Next is, plans are only good intentions unless they immediately degenerate into hard work. Peter Drucker. This is John Maxwell. Dreams don't work unless you do. Amelia Earhart. The most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity. Gosh, that's such a good one. And from Vince Lombardi, the difference between a successful person and others is not a lack of strength, not a lack of knowledge, but rather a lack in will. I hope you enjoyed those. I enjoy famous quotes like that. They just sum up the human experience. As a human being who's done hard things, it just sums it up. And when you hear a statement like that, you know that they've been there. And my goal is to encourage and facilitate all of you guys who are listening to have your own experience of this. And if you've been through nursing school, you've already done this to some point, right? Like this is not brand new to you. You've done hard things. So nurse coaching is another commitment, another decision. All right. So I want to talk about the different categories of support that I give business clients. And a lot of our calls, I'll ask at the beginning of the call for people to tell me in the chat what area of their business they want support in. And so first is vision. That's where we would talk about their business plan, their offers, finding their niche, finding their why. Why do they really want to do this thing called private practice and entrepreneurship? Like there's got to be a pretty good why that they're excited about to not quit. So that's vision. Vision's really important. Vision is where we're going. It's the destination. Next is mindset. And with mindset, you're going to be doing identity work. You can work with mantras, working through limiting beliefs, getting coached on limiting beliefs, looking at fear, doing some shadow work, looking at your commitment and motivation and discipline. This is all mindset. It's the way that our mind interacts with reality. And inevitably, to be a successful nurse coach, your mindset has to change drastically from where it is in the beginning. Your mindset is what will open up opportunities. It'll have you see things that you currently cannot see. It'll have you see opportunities and solutions that you currently cannot perceive. It's as if you unlock higher levels of life. What used to seem impossible seems probable. And that's mindset. Next is skill set. So there's lots of new skills you have to learn. You have to initially set up your business. You have to build your skill set as a coach and become a better coach. You have to learn the successful nurse coach method, learn how social media works and how you're going to leverage it, learning how to write copy. Copy is how you write about coaching. It's writing, it's social media posts. It is, if you were to do email marketing, it is your website copy. This is a new skill that was actually very difficult for me when I first started. So I want to like highlight that writing skill can be a really big learning curve for you guys. Tech platforms, the ones that you choose to run your business, the skill of sales. Most of you don't come to us with sales experience, and then the skill of marketing. And next is energy. Starting a practice takes energy. Starting anything takes energy. Change takes energy. So if you're perpetually low energy, we need to do an energy audit. We need to plug any energetic holes that you currently have and optimize your life physically, mentally, and emotionally to have as much energy available to you as possible for this business venture. This is not the time when you're starting your business to start working on home projects and plant a really I'm using a weird word here, planting a crazy garden, going on insane vacations. Like I wouldn't do all that in your startup phase. I would constrain. You need energy in the form of time, in the form of bandwidth, and in the form of finances to make this thing work. So temporarily, it kind of needs to become the most important thing, or at least one of the top three. Learning new skills takes energy. So how do we optimize your life to allow for enough energy to do this thing? The final category is strategy. This is huge. What actions do you take regularly in your practice? If you have 8 hours a week to work on your practice, you have to have those 8 hours defined. What will you be doing in those 8 hours? And what will you be doing in those 8 hours, regardless of how you feel? When you create a strategy, how often do you pivot? And how do you make a decision to pivot? This is where mentorship is crucial. When do you double down on something and just keep putting in reps? Or when do you need to change course? I would say 90% of nurse coaches change course before they get results because they underestimate the amount of reps that it takes to be successful. And so I'm going to break down what it would mean to fully execute our business course. You'll kind of see probably why only 10 to 15% of the people who purchase it are able to do that. One, these people go through the course for the first time, print everything out that they need, and they make notes, even though a lot of it does not feel relevant to them. Two, they commit to coaching every single week as the prime directive of their coaching practice. If we are not coaching, we do not have a coaching practice. It's really hard to market when you're not actively coaching. It's really hard to write Facebook posts about coaching when you're not coaching. It's really hard to change your identity to be really a fully embodied nurse coach if you're not coaching. They print out their 100 hours grid that Amy Frame created for us in our course, and they know that the only thing that they're responsible for and the most important thing is just coaching for free as many hours as possible and marking those 100 hours off. That's post-cert. They are recording and watching their coaching calls and proposals and evaluating them with our evaluation forms. They create a tracker and connect and invite regularly with potential clients, and they log it on their tracker. They create follow-up plans for every lead that makes it onto the tracker because they realize that 70 to 80% of all the money they'll ever earn in their practice will be from follow-up. They choose a marketing strategy of some sort and they commit to it weekly. Doesn't have to be a lot, just has to be regular. And they stay on that plan long enough for it to have some traction. They don't keep changing. They don't do one post. And if they don't get 1,000 likes, stop thinking that it doesn't work. They do 50 posts and then they evaluate what's working and what's not. They have a coach and they're honest and open no matter how crazy their inner world is. These clients often come to calls and cry, often come to calls and feel like they want to quit, often come to calls not positive, not motivated, and not masking. I can't tell you how valuable it is just to be all of you, the gross parts of you, the shadowy parts of you, the fearful parts of you, the jealous parts of you, the all of it. They just bring it all to calls and we work through it and they get through these bumps so much faster. They create a budget and they sacrifice temporarily for future wealth. So they stop working overtime or drop to part-time in their business. Their family is on board. This is a temporary financial sacrifice for future payoff. So they aren't trying to just make enough money. They're not trying to make money on top of their regular spending. They actually adjust their life to make space for their dream. Very rarely does an entrepreneur just start a side gig and it starts becoming insanely profitable. Most of the time, they invest a lot of time and money up front without any guarantees. And they make space for the dream to happen and to execute. They only tell supportive people about what they're doing, and they keep their dream close to the vest until they're less vulnerable. They're asking for feedback from their clients regularly. They know that constructive criticism is how you feed forward and get better, and they're always seeking it. It just becomes part of who they are. And they stop trying to get clients, and they start trying to commit to becoming excellent as a coach by coaching for free. The how is pretty black and white. The how is pretty linear. The how really could be a checklist, but it's like what makes those 10 to 15% able to execute that? Because it sounds easy, but once you get into it, it gets convoluted and it's difficult. And so I want to talk about some of the obstacles and tendencies that we have. So many entrepreneurs have ADHD. I was diagnosed earlier this year. I've had it my whole life. Thankfully, working as an entrepreneur is really helpful with ADHD. We're very good at owning businesses, I think. But the ADHD tendencies can be very difficult to overcome in specific areas of your business. And so just knowing what you're working with and having strategies to cope with that can be so helpful. Perfectionism, opening a business is messy. You want to build your business as messy as possible. That's how you know you're doing it right. And if you're constantly trying to make it perfect and only put the absolute best out into the world, you're going to slow yourself down. You're not going to execute fully because you can't really execute our course fully and do it perfectly. So you just set yourself up for a goal that's unattainable. People skip parts that make them uncomfortable. This is what I hear all the time. I'm just not really into I don't want to talk to people and invite them into coaching calls because I don't want to annoy people. And that feels like super MLM. And so they just skip the inviting part and then wonder why they don't have results. They'll just keep doing posts and hoping people sign up on their link or come to them, and it just doesn't happen. And so skipping the parts that make us uncomfortable instead of coming to face with the part that we're skipping, why are we uncomfortable and how can we work with it and through it to overcome it? Because you can. I would say that that's probably one of the big major ones. And then people will cherry pick things to do to feel like they're working, like start a podcast, work crazy on a website, do a bunch of workshops, but not follow up with anybody, try to keep getting organizational deals, thinking that that's going to create revenue early on. It just doesn't. It's a super long game. And then skipping the hours part. I mean, you come out of CERT with 60 hours, a professional counselor gets 1,000. We owe it to ourselves and our clients to get another 100. And we can absolutely get paid in that period of time. And you will if you're coaching that much. But to try to launch major programs or to come up with the infrastructure and the programs and the courses and the things and the funnels when you haven't coached 100 hours at a CERT, it just doesn't work. And then they'll feel like the method doesn't work or the course doesn't work or this doesn't work for them. And it reminds me of like people that say, I've tried every diet and it doesn't work. But if you if they fully executed any diet that they had been on, it would have worked. And me included, by the way. It is not usually the strategy, it's the execution of the strategy. And there's a lot of awesome strategies in business. The Successful Nurse Coach method and the preceptorship course is the absolute best for nurse coaches that want a transformative practice, in my opinion. And I've constantly looked for ways to improve it, and we have over the years. But essentially, any business mentorship program out there that's doing 7 figures is some version of the Successful Nurse Coach method with different language and slightly different granular parts to it. So why is it hard to execute? It's hard to execute because if we don't fully go all in, then we can't really fail. You know what I mean? So to give something everything you have is fucking vulnerable. Because if you give something everything you have and then it doesn't quote unquote work, the ego will start getting really loud and make meaning of it. But successful people give their all and execute in everything that they do and know that they're still going to fail a percentage of the time, but that if they don't quit, eventually something will work. It always works. And we were talking about vision earlier, and I know a lot of your guys' vision is freedom. You want to pick your kids up from school. You want to be able to work when you travel. You want to be able to move your schedule around if you have an elderly parent who needs your help. You do not want to get vacation time turned down. These are things that you desire, and they are available for you. You can have that life with twice as much income. Like that is 100% possible for you who are listening to this right now. And the journey from the you are now to the you who has that is a journey worth taking. And that journey worth taking, the path is execution. How do you execute? So this is kind of like a interactive podcast. So this is what I want you to do. If you're already our client, I want you to really evaluate how well you've executed what you've been taught. What are the things that keep coming to mind? Oh, I really should do that. I really should do that. I want to know, and put them in our chats or in our groups. And for those out there who are thinking about private practice, haven't started yet, what is your relationship to executing things in the past? How did you do through nursing school? How did you do through finals? What are your strengths? What are your weak points? I mean, if we can just get a lay of the land for who you are and how you do hard things, we can probably create like a really watertight system and structure for you. I love doing this with our year 2 clients. We just had a call yesterday. Systems and structure in your business will make you feel so good. Freedom comes through discipline and execution of systems and structures. Discipline equals freedom, and executing feels good. It feels so good to execute. Even if your version of execution this week is not working on your business at all, watching a bunch of Netflix shows, walking around your neighborhood, cooking a delicious dinner. If your coach said to execute, this is what you need to do because we need to turn your brain off and just have a break. The ability for a nurse coach to do that, to see that that's what's needed and to switch gears and commit and execute even that rest, that's a skill. And it's really awesome to see you guys starting to do it. All right, so I'm going to reiterate those categories in business. So you have your vision, you have a mindset, skill set, energy, and strategy. Everything that we coach you guys around in the Successful Nurse Coaches will fall into one of those categories. And you can see from a holistic point of view, all those categories are being tended to. And just like an ICU, a patient load, we are constantly analyzing stats and vitals to see where our energy needs to go next. What do we have to mess with? And what do we have to support? What does the client need? That's holistically how we support you here in the Successful Nurse Coach programs. And I just wanted to be a big advocate and champion for all of you to give yourself permission to just fully execute. I promise you it'll feel so good. All right. If you're not in our Facebook group, come hang. We've got so many cool workshops coming up. As we go into fall and into winter, these are where some of our real large people, 300, 400 people have come to a lot of these workshops. They're super fun. You're going to be in the company of nurse coaches from all over the country. And this is the cream of the crop nurse coaches. These are the ones that are doing the things that you want to do. It's an awesome room to be a part of. I get pumped up just thinking about it. So come join us, find out when our next workshops are, and we will see you then. Bye.